Hi everyone, I'm out in Oakland, California. The clock just struck 12 and I'm going to a rally for a group of reporters who are asking their papers to pay them more money, to pay them a fair and decent living wage. I'm going to plug in my microphone and I'm just going to turn on the camera. I'm out at Lake Merritt and I'm going to have you not watch me, but I'm going to have you watch what's going on. So I'm coming to you from Lake Merritt in Oakland, California, and hopefully you'll get to see what happens. This is really a struggle. These reporters have been the forefront of fighting on SB 1421 issues to bring greater public transparency on our police officers. Maybe we will see some police officers out here today, but here we go. We're out at Lake Merritt, California. Thanks for everybody for coming on. This is a beautiful sunny day. We're in Oakland, California. This is the scene of a lot of the racial tensions in Oakland. I grew up here during that time. It is the neighboring community to the UC Berkeley Vietnam protests. And we have Puppy with us today on our little journey. So I think it's right around here. Parking was a little challenging. The noon bells just rang. We do have some other reporters out there. I'll get you some better stabilization once I get to the rally. So I believe that the reporters that will be here, one of them is Tom Peel. I've worked with Tom for probably 5 years on public records issues. He is on all the committees. He was one of the team members with the First Amendment Coalition when SB 1421 came out, and the reporters and mainstream media realized how much police misconduct, from excessive force and police dishonesty, that there was going on in our communities. They have been vigilant on this issue all of 2019, and now they're asking the owners of their papers to pay them a fair wage. These reporters spend their time and energy working on these issues and public records, things that a lot of us don't have the time to do. It takes a lot of time and effort to get these important issues out to the public, and until we have an informed public sitting on juries when police officers are prosecuted or brought before a judge, we are not going to get things changed. I'm gonna have you meet. Hi there.
Hi.
I'm streaming you live on YouTube.
Okay.
Do you want to say anything to people out there?
I'd be happy to say something. My name is Richard Nee. I am California Vice President of the Pacific Media Workers Guild, CWA Local 39521. I am also a member of the Guild Freelancers. We are a unit of freelance writers, editors, photographers, graphic artists. And we are in the Guild because we are working to build solidarity between freelance and staff people. We want management in the publishing industry to know that in the event of a lockout or a strike, we will walk the picket lines with our staff brothers and sisters, and we will let freelancers across the country know that crossing a picket line physically or electronically or any other way is a bad idea.
Okay, thank you. That message just went out live on my YouTube account, and we'll keep it running.
Thank you very much.
Hi there. We are live streaming on YouTube, everybody. We're having more people join us, and so your message is going out on YouTube, and it will stay there. Hi there.
Wonderfully.
Yeah?
Glad to be here.
Who knows what we're out here for? Rick, what are we here for?
Supporting local journalism.
Supporting local journalism, that's right. So we've got some important things to share with you today. And I just want to take a moment to thank all of you who are out here. The News Guild, Communication Workers of America, we obviously have an interest in saving local news and keeping our Guild members stable and safe and protecting the integrity of journalism. I want to hear who else is out here to support.
We've got you live streaming on YouTube.
Live streaming on YouTube. We've got our guild freelancers. Where are you? We've got our CWA brothers and sisters. We've got our local president, Derek Moore. Who else?
Print sector.
Print sector, that's right. California Labor Federation, where are you? Thank you, thank you, thank you. This has been a long campaign, and I'm going to turn it over real quick because it's important that you hear from our folks. Right now is a critical moment, not only for journalism, but for union journalism. And we're in the middle of negotiations, and they're real tough with this company, Digital First Media. Digital First Media is owned by a hedge fund called Aldon Capital. Look at your signs right now. The hashtag's Aldon Exposed. That's what we're here to do today, is to expose this company for the looting that they're doing of our local papers. So I'm going to turn it over now to Thomas Peel with the East Bay Times.
Yay, Tom! Tom Peel is a hero for SB 1421.
Thank you. I don't think I need this.
Yes, you do. We want to hear it. Come on, Tom.
Well, I got to manage some papers here, so I'm going to try to not use it but talk loud, okay? Thank you all for being here today and standing with us. I've worked for newspapers for 36 years. There's one thing that I think I've learned is that this saying about journalism is a deep truth. Love the work, hate the business. Those 6 words epitomize why members of our 3 units are here today. We indeed love journalism. We take the responsibility that the Constitution mandates of us with solemn resolve. Power, service, telling the truth. And we hate the business under which we suffer, specifically the oppressive and secretive and jackbooted overlord Aldon Capital that owns our newspapers, or what in the murky alphabet soup they are calling today DFM, Media News. They switch the name around when we criticize them. We're here because when it comes to Aldon, as the great civil rights activist Fannie Lou Hamer once said, we are sick and tired of being sick and tired of the way that this company treats its employees.
That's right.
Woo! 10 years ago, shortly before Aldon took over our company, our pay was cut up to 10% for some of us because of the impact of the Great Recession. Except that, we were told, you still have a job. A decade later, as the stock market soars to record highs, thanks to its president, Keith Freeman, who calls himself Keith Dog to his friends, we've received one paltry raise in those 10 years. We've long lost company contribution to retirement, and we suffer with low-grade, high-deductible health insurance, the kind that the American Academy of Pediatrics tells parents not to have because it disincentivizes the seeking of medical care because of the costs and puts children at risk. That's what our company gives us. We have journalists living in garages, living with their parents, working 2 or 3 extra jobs to make ends meet. Imagine having low stagnant pay in this market of all places. I think our plight can be best summed up this way. Journalists living in the Bay Area. The rent is too damn high and the pay is too damn low. Yet, as Michael alluded to, in our ongoing contract talks, We are told by Heathcock Freeman's toadies that raises are out of the question. This is from a company that enjoys industry-leading profits. In 2017, it made $41 million from its Bay Area papers alone. But we don't get raises because Aldon Global Capital's board doesn't give a rat's behind. Should have said ass.
Should have said ass.
Should have said ass. Rat's ass.
Just did.
About who does the work. They spit in our faces and they tell us it is only raining. We can't have raises because in the secret world of private equity, the land of the 1%, it's a mortal sin to take a few points less profit to pay people a living wage. The impact is immense. Digital First Media News is the largest newspaper company in California with 30 daily newspapers up and down the state. Only 3 of those newspapers are unionized. At only 3 of those newspapers can journalists stand up and speak out like we're doing today. Conditions at those other 27 papers are hideous. Some of them have 1 reporter. Some of them have no staff photographers. That is how little Aldon Global thinks of and cares about the communities that those newspapers serve. Aldon Global is a so-called vulture hedge fund. All it can do is destroy things and pick the bones. Anyone who's ever kicked over a sandcastle at a beach knows how much easier it is to destroy something than it is to build something. All Aldon Global does is destroy newspapers. Destroys newspapers. Baseball legend Casey Stengel once said that every baseball team needed a catcher so they wouldn't have a lot of fast balls. Well, every city deserves a newspaper and needs a newspaper. Because without a newspaper, the crooks and the corruption they create will win. Studies have shown that in the news deserts in this country, because Aldon is not alone in what it does in gutting newspapers, it's just better at it than anybody else. Taxes are higher, corruption is more rampant, people are all the more uninformed. The founders knew what they were doing when they made the press free, turning it on the government and the powerful. There was no other mechanism that is as effective as the free press in checking tyranny. But all it does with its newspapers is slash them to appease their greedy Cayman Island shareholders. Our newspapers bleed good people who simply can't afford to live in the Bay Area with the low pay and the crappy benefits. The rest of us hang on, often questioning ourselves, why? I know I ask myself why a lot. Why work for a company that frankly treats us like crap? We do it despite this because we know how valuable the work is to our fellow citizens. We find strength and meaning and purpose in that work. We believe in its public service. We love the work. We hate the business. but we also demand to be treated fairly and to be fairly compensated and to be given retirement benefits and to stop decent health care and to stop being fleeced and beaten down by some of the worst and slimiest people and business practices that society has to offer. We will not cease in these demands, just as we will not cease in our attempts to serve the public with our work. But we need your help. Please sign the petitions that are being circulated. Tell Aldon's board to compensate us fairly, to treat us like human beings, to let us do the vital work of being democracy's watchdog while not having to constantly watch the wolves at our own door. Tell Heath Dog Freeman to pay us now. Pay us now.
Pay us now!
Thank you.
Hey, Tom. Susan Bassey.
Hi, Susan.
Hi. I'm streaming right now.
Okay.
I got all the YouTubers that are the cop watchers, and I have been promoting how much work you've done on that.
Thank you.
And so I wanted everybody to be able to see the reporter behind that important reporting and all the hard work you've done on public records related to law enforcement officers.
Thank you very much, Susan.
Please support you, Tom.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah!
All right. I'll shout. I'm Julie Reynolds, and I worked at the Monterey Herald for 10 years.
Vice chair of the
And I'm really happy to see my Herald colleagues who come all the way up here to the Bay Area to send this message.
Thank you.
It's so important for people to hear it. For the past 3.5 years, I've been investigating Aldon Capital, the New York hedge fund that's been deliberately ransacking your community newspaper. And what I learned is that Aldon's president, Heath Freeman, is siphoning hundreds of millions of dollars from the Digital First Media News newspaper chain. They've been withdrawing these millions as if they're a personal ATM and investing money that came from your community into unrelated and very questionable businesses around the world. 2 of these investments, the Fred's Pharmacy chain and Payless shoe stores, were shut down this year under Aldon's watch. 22,000 workers in those 2 chains lost their livelihood this year because of Aldon's corporate irresponsibility. Many of the overseas businesses that Aldon invests in have been investigated for corruption and bribery in Brazil, for fraud in Angola. And another Aldon investment, an energy company with ties to Vladimir Putin, has been indicted for criminal environmental violations in Russia. But just this past week, I learned that Aldon has invested almost $2 million in the parent company of Smith & Wesson Firearms. We don't know yet if those $2 million came out of our newspapers, but we do know that money could have been used to keep a team of reporters on the beat covering your city and your neighborhood. We do know that the hundreds of millions that Aldon has brazenly pillaged from newspapers all across California could have been reinvested in these brave journalists here who are still producing award-winning work despite working in abysmal conditions. But in fact, Aldon wants to increase its profits so much that it's now designing its Bay Area weeklies not in California, but in the Philippines, where it's paying pennies on the dollar. And now with all this cost cutting, maybe you'd think Aldon newspapers must be teetering on the brink of ruin. But the fact is, Aldon-owned papers are among the most profitable in the industry. Our California papers bring in twice the profit percentage as highly successful newspapers like the New York Times and the Washington Post. These alarming business decisions are choices. Aldon has chosen to extract as much money as it can.
We're out here and we are talking to a number of the reporters. This is kind of a remarkable event for me. I'm an old print publisher from way back, and it is shocking to me that as newspapers have left our communities, which lessens our ability to be transparent in communities about our elected officials and our law enforcement agencies, that reporters and photographers who have made their living based on First Amendment issues and based on their devotion to our communities are having to basically beg their venture capital owners to pay them a fair wage to be able to live in the Bay Area. This impacts the San Jose Mercury. This impacts the East Bay Times and the Monterey Herald. The important work these people have done related to police officers in 2019 has been mind-boggling. So I just want to make sure that you all know what's going on, that these people are fighting to save local news and transparency in our communities. Many of you may not believe in print and the value of it, but it is an important part of our First Amendment, and it's important that we support these people as we want these people to support what the First Amendment auditors are doing on YouTube. It's all important for transparency. It's all important for the First Amendment. And it's important that we talk about it together, not separate. And just as these people deserve to be paid, people who are doing this work on YouTube deserve to be paid, and anybody who dedicates their life or their career to First Amendment issues deserves to be paid for the work that they do. Thank you. And we have a puppy sitter here too at the event. Thank you for puppy sitting.
On behalf of the journalists that cover the community so tirelessly. I'm going to read that letter now. Thank you. Yes, thank you. I'm writing to voice my support for our local reporters and their demands for living wages and fair benefits. Public accountability and the health of our democracy depend on these local journalists. Without them, we wouldn't know which schools are underperforming, which institutions are corrupt, or when our leaders aren't acting in the best interest of their constituents. These journalists serve their communities both by holding their government accountable and by elevating the voices, concerns, and stories of local people. They shine a light on issues that need to be addressed at the policy level and keep the faces of those impacted front and center. Their work, Pulitzer winning and otherwise, has a meaningful impact on legislation and how it takes shape. They produce coverage from which we cannot turn away, and it's work that doesn't go unnoticed in Sacramento. Every dollar paid to local journalists produce hundreds of dollars in public benefit. They make our government work better, our communities more sustainable. It's a profound public service, one that our communities can't afford to be without. It's time for Media News Group to recognize this and pay their reporters the wages and benefits they deserve. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Robert Salonga. I'm a criminal justice reporter with the Mercury News.
Woo!
And I am a East San Jose kid, born and raised, grew up reading the Mercury News, and all I ever wanted to do my whole life was be a reporter at the Mercury News. And I'll tell you, when I first got out of college and grad school, I tried to apply for a job at the Mercury News, and I was told, you're too green, you're too young, go get a couple jobs under your belt and come back when you have more experience. Because the Mercury News was a destination paper in the United States. It attracted reporters from all over the country. And so I did that. I worked in Salinas, and then I joined the Bay Area News Group through the Contra Costa Times and Oakland Tribune. And eventually I got to my destination. And I am fortunate to say that I am, as modest as it sounds, I am working my dream job, being a reporter at the Mercury News for my hometown paper. But now, over the years, and it's accelerated since Aldon Capital took over the company, it's now less a destination and more of a departure point for journalists trying to make a living in journalism and often elsewhere. And when they leave, we're usually not replacing them. So that means more work for the people who are still here and digging in. So besides the institutional memory we're losing, we're struggling to rebuild it because we're having trouble retaining and attracting younger reporters who don't necessarily see a future in journalism, despite knowing how essential it is to our society and our democracy. So with the company putting in all these new initiatives to attract and retain subscribers and giving us more work to do in the process, they should put in as much, if not more work, in attracting and retaining the people producing the essential journalism that are generating those profits. It will take just a small fraction of those profits to show that they value our work. It's worth it.
Thank you, Robert.
Hi everyone, my name is Ben Enos. I'm also a former writer with the Contra Costa Times, and I'm here to read a statement on behalf of Congressman Mark DeSonia. Local journalism has been a critical component of our society since the founding days of the United States. Dedicated men and women like many of you here today have faithfully written the first draft of our history, holding the powerful accountable and keeping the people of our nation informed with rigorously researched and fact-checked journalism. Sadly, today companies like Digital First Media and its parent company, Aldon Financial, are taking advantage of our nation's newsrooms. Instead of investing in talented, experienced staff and expanding access to local news coverage, Aldon and companies like it are squeezing profits out of the industry with little concern for the impacts that these cuts have on the journalists who lose their jobs and the communities that are left without quality journalism. We are lucky to live in an area with so many talented, award-winning journalists. Aldon has apparently taken the position that the Pulitzer Prize-winning journalism that comes out of our local newsrooms doesn't require investment. Quality journalism is not free, and you all deserve better. Aldon has made a $41 million profit off East Bay newspapers in 2017, and instead of using that money where it was earned and investing in who helped them earn it, instead it diverts money to other business interests, reduces the size of newsrooms, and forces you to make the decision between providing the same coverage with less resources or reducing coverage. This is not how you reward profit-making, award-winning journalism. You work every day to keep us informed and to provide us with quality information about the communities in which we live and work. You deserve a fair contract that recognizes your contributions to our society and takes into account the value of your work. I applaud you for the dedicated work you do every day. Without you, our nation would be less informed and our communities less engaged. I urge Digital First Media and Aldon Financial to do the right thing, negotiate in good faith, and give you the fair contract you deserve. I stand with you and journalists like you across the nation who are fighting the same fight.
How y'all doing today? Good. Okay, you can win this. You got to be louder. How are we doing today? Right, that's what I like to hear. My name is Josh Richmond. I was a reporter at the Bay Area News Group for almost 19 years. So I'm very happy to be back among my former colleagues, my former brothers and sisters in the union today. And I'm especially proud to be here in my current capacity as Communications Director and Senior Advisor to Congressman Eric Swalwell. Congressman Swalwell wishes he could be here himself, but he has some business to conduct in Washington today. So he sent me in his stead to read this letter. This letter is addressed to Michael Applegate, Executive Officer of the Pacific Media Workers Guild. Dear Mr. Applegate, I write in support of East Bay Times and Mercury News employees' demand for living wages and fair benefits. To paraphrase Chicago journalist and humorist Finley Peter Dunn back in 1902, the job of the newspaper is to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. He wrote this satirically, but it really is true. News media can give voice to the voiceless, shine a light on things that the powerful would rather do and keep in the dark, and make ours a fairer, freer republic. Yet here, it appears the newspaper is afflicted by the comfortable, a corporate ownership that has stripped away these newspapers' assets and siphoned away profits to feed unrelated business ventures while letting local news gathering and the employees who conduct it wither on the vine. In one of the nation's most expensive places to live, Pulitzer-winning work that these journalists have done in recent years seems to be despite their employers' unfortunate fiscal policies. We are at a moment in American history in which journalists are labeled enemies of the people and a stain on America. The international journalism advocacy group Reporters Without Borders last year dropped the United States ranking in its annual World Press Freedom Index by 2 points to number 45 overall. This year, we slipped 3 more points down to 48th place. Journalism is under fire and requires support from all of us, including newspapers' corporate ownership. We must bring our society back to the ideals of openness and access, and bring our fellow citizens back to the idea that knowledge is power, knowledge is freedom. A robust, healthy press is the lifeblood of our democracy, so our democracy must nurture and protect a free press. This starts with change we serve.
Thank you for that important assignment. A little more stable. I Puppy. I have 3 boys. They never gave her a name.
Good afternoon. I am Richard Nee, at KNEE, just like Elbow. I am California Vice President of the Guild. I'm a member of the Guild Freelancers Unit. That unit was formed by the Guild back in 2008. I was one of the first in. Why I did that? Because I believe the Guild is solidarity. We're not here to put you out of a job. We're here to support you and you do. Support that in. We want all of them. We want her. We want all of them.
So I wanted you to get a little bit of a view of what people are out here doing. These are not big corporate journalists. These are people who have fought every day to provide information to the public. I have grown up reading information that these people provide, and that often motivates me to go do something that I have learned to do from all of the First Amendment auditors on YouTube. This is a joint effort. This is a collaboration and a coalition of the First Amendment.
Executive Secretary Treasurer of the Alameda Labor Council, representing 135,000 workers across Alameda County, here today to say we have your back. We have your back. All across this country, workers like yourselves are standing up against corporate greed and saying enough is enough. We've seen it with teachers. We've seen it with city and county employees. We've seen it with nurses. And now we're seeing it with you, the democracy of our country. And so, on behalf of Alameda County and our workers, we're here to say, keep up the fight. We have your back. And when workers fight back, we win. When we fight,
we win.
When we fight,
we win. We win.
Thank you.
All right.
My name is Bob Butler. I'm a reporter, radio here in the Bay Area.
Yeah, Bob.
I've worked with people like Thomas Steele, Josh Griffin, on the Chauncey Bailey Project, George Kelly. I know the value.
Butler is speaking right now. For those of you who are watching in Contra Costa, all of the reporters that cover for the Monterey Herald, the San Jose Mercury, and the East Bay Times are out here. It's a little bit of a sad day for me to think that journalists have to essentially unionize and beg corporate owners for a fair and decent living to do their work. That's problematic for our democracy. What these people have learned about investigating, reporting, and providing information to our communities is very critical. And if we're going to ignore that importance for profits and corporate structures and make this nothing more than how much money somebody can make off a newspaper, that's a problem. I have been a print publisher for years, and I understand the challenges facing print publishing. We don't get into this business to make money. We get into this business because we believe in the First Amendment and because we believe in journalism and we believe that it can make a difference. And we understand our obligation to educate people in the future. We understand our obligation to engage the youth in being interested in our free press and in the First Amendment. And that's why I'm out here today. I drove up to Oakland because I think it's important to show all of you what struggles mainstream media is going through. You may not always like how they report on things, but they do have the training and the expertise to provide information that are critical to every community. We need to know about law enforcement officers, lawyers, judges, elected politicians. We need to know about the struggles of our nurses and our teachers. And that's why we're all out here today. These are the people that provide you that information. These are the people that write about the struggles in our community. And the fact that they are struggling to just make a decent wage to support their families is shameful.
We are coming for you.
All right.
And when we get to you, you're going to regret it. I spent half my life in the Bay Area, working as a reporter, working alongside some of the finest people I've ever met, learning from them every day through their examples, through their efforts, through their energy, through their organization, through their community ties, and through their willingness to persevere through conditions that would make a venture capitalist blush. That should make a venture capitalist blush. They do bleed, don't they? Are we going to find out if they bleed?
Yeah!
Are we going to find out if they bleed?
Yeah!
We know they are afraid of us. We've seen what they do. They change their names to try to do business at some other organization when they try to dip their toes into something like the Gannett Gatehouse merger. We've seen what they do when they set up organizations to funnel money into Mexican construction companies, when they set up businesses to try to invest in pharmacy chains and shoe companies. So we know they know fear. We're going to show them what we know. We know we can win. We've seen it in the examples of working peoples coming together. People like the California Labor Federation. People like the Guild Freelancers. People like the hundreds of unions that have stood up for themselves and worked to make better conditions for their families, for their communities, and for the region, for this country. This country is nothing without the legacy of people coming together. Democracy depends on journalism. Not just the journalism we see taking place covering the impeachment proceedings in Washington, D.C., my hometown. We know that democracy depends on journalism in San Jose and in the people who are busting their butts to try to go to city council meetings, trying to go to accident scenes, trying to go to hearings and forums and every other place that people gather together. There is power in gathering together. We know that not just because we're here, but we know it because of what we're going to do when we leave here. We will continue the campaign to save local news. We will push back against the powers of Wall Street. We will make a better way for our community to learn about ourselves. And we will pay tribute to the people who get up at 2 or 3 in the morning when they learn that people are dead at a party just 2 towns over. We will pay tribute to the people who wake up at midnight.
Who are you with? Just a freelancer? Good for you. I'm live streaming on YouTube. Do you want to say anything?
Okay. Yeah, thanks.
People depend on how to work, we'll get to it. Let's get to work.
Yeah.
And folks at the Monterey Herald, San Jose Mercury News, and East Bay Times, come up here so the crowd can see your faces and the company can see your faces.
That's a shot. This is what journalism looks like, people. This is local journalism. These are the people that write those articles that you read in the paper and that inspire us every day.
Thank you all for being here. We'd like to get one group shot of the entire crowd before we break for questions. So if you all can come up here, we're gonna have our photographer take a quick photo.
How about having everyone face this way? And then the photographer can stand on that.
Oops, sorry. Oh, I really wanted to shot of that.
As an Oakland resident and someone who needs local news.
Did you just say you're a journalism educator?
I just retired, yes.
Well, you were probably doing a good job. What school were you with?
I would rather
not say.
Not.
Okay.
Kind of a situation over there right now.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Sure.
Yeah, sorry. And of course, when did you get here? I got here at like 12:15. Okay, all right. Yeah.
This is it, guys. These are the reporters of our local newspapers. They are the ones that have worked tirelessly on SB 1421 issues, and local government issues, and addressing issues related to our courts. This is the other side of our free press. Local news.
Thank you all. We'll stay around for questions.
There's no habits.
Hi, I'm good. How are you? So nice to see you. So good to see you.
Robert,
yes.
I want to thank you for your article about the prosecutor that broke on Sunday, right?
That was something.
That's a good one. You're doing a good job of keeping up pressure on our courts and on our police officers, and I wanted everybody to see who's behind all that great reporting.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Susan.
Okay.
Yeah.
See
Good
you
to see you. Thanks for coming up.
Sure.
Like behind a fence, and every time if it's out there behind this fence, every time I walk across.
So initially it'll be phone bank first, and if they really don't want to go that route,
Do you want to maybe?
Can we just stop check? Can we just
Okay, yeah.
Thank you, standing and applauding.
Yes.
There's Puppy sniffing out the next story.
I feel like what everyone else is giving up their
It's right around your eyeball, man.
We can reach out, but I know that they said Blair is like going to get voice, so we'll move on from
It's Julia Reynolds, former Monterey Herald. You wrote about back in the campaign.
Oh, I want to see. Could you? Let's go. I want to. When you're done, I'm going to live stream that. You're supposed to say, of course you are. I have a really exciting story. So I'm with a reporter, Stephen James. You see him right there. He's the one that's in the video that I posted last night that got beat up by Matthew Laycox. He's been beaten up a lot hanging out with me as one of my backup photographers. He's kind of my auditor #1. And he was once doing a story on prison guards, and he went to a deposition of a warden. And the warden actually lunged at him and tried to beat him up. And the Monterey Herald published a story about it. And so right now he's going to get to meet the reporter that did that story. And I'm going to get to view that. I'm probably going to turn off my live stream at that point so that I can get a good film of that. And I always give Steve a hard time because as the warden lunged at him, he took a photograph. And when he went back to look at the photograph, it was blank. He had hit the floor. These are people out supporting local journalists and the coverage that they provide in our communities to support local news. Thank you everybody for joining me out here today. I'll try to get some more footage and work it into some of our other work.